Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's October 11th. This will be our chart lesson for the day, and we had a nice uptrend today. It took a little, early on it looked like it might be a range day, and then this was an FOMC day, and so you had to really be careful getting long right in that noon hour there. Um, and then we continued higher as the day went on. You can see the prices reacting off that midline there. We never got back up to the highs. Um, but this trend line worked well all the way up, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But not a lot of trades today, and really we're just so flat right here. I'll talk about this in a moment, but it's really so flat right there, and you need to draw your line across the bottom here as well. And you can see that just holding prices in there. You'd have a little drop here. The problem is you don't have much room to get out before what looks like strong resistance in a range day. So especially with it going right into the FOMC hour, because that's generally what will happen is you'll get in a little tight range about an hour or so before the news comes out. So you got to be careful about entering right in there. One other thing before we talk about the trades, because it's not going to take long today, but I got an email. Somebody had asked me if I'd changed my, let me find the email here. They basically were just asking if I'd changed my session template. I usually keep mine on, well, I'll just show you here, data series. I usually keep mine here on CME US Index Futures ETH2, and somebody asked me today if I'd changed it. Well, I hadn't purposely changed it, but when I went to look, it was just it was actually sitting on the one above that, CME US Index Futures ETH. And how it got changed, I don't know. Maybe it's been that way since I reloaded this new chart. I had some chart issues, and maybe my standard, for some reason, it didn't load my standard ETH2. And but either way, I don't know how it got there. But when I changed it back and reloaded the chart, it didn't change anything. Only thing that difference that makes is now I have a line where it closes where you didn't get that before. So that's the only difference it makes. So if you were, for those of you that were worrying about that and thinking that it made a difference, it didn't change anything. So not one bar changed after I reloaded it. So nothing to worry about. If you can use either one of those functions, and you'll get the same chart I got, basically, or as close as you can get to the same chart I got. All it does is change, it puts the line on there, it closes at 3:15 or whatever, where you don't get that otherwise. So hopefully that makes sense, but it didn't change the chart, so don't worry about it. But anyway, let's talk about the trades. First trade I saw was right here a little bit after 7 o'clock. When I came in, we had a little channel coming down. We had a break, moved to a new low, and then we made a lower high here. And notice what happens. This thing starts to go lower, breaks lower, reverses, and goes right out the top. I like going long right there. You might let it break higher and then drop a limit order to see if you can get a little better entry. Or you could just have your buy stop one tick above this bar, waiting on it to go through. And because this looks so much like a range, and you figure we're going to test that high again, and guess where it goes? Right back to that high. And you may say, well, why didn't you go short here? You just got too much resistance here. I originally had this up here, and you can see it still. That's really where you get most of your support and support anyway today. I did end up moving it down just because you get a few touches down there, but this is where I originally had it. So that looks like a failed break lower, and then it comes back and tests it and bounce right off of it. That's a good place to go long. We turn down off the top, and you're working down. This is just a lot of sideways here. You do get a lower high here, but it's right into the EMA, a lot of bars stacked up. It would have worked if you'd have taken it, but I don't think you want to go short there. Uh, in fact, I like going long when it breaks lower and gives you that second entry long, because that was the first close outside here. Even though on range day you don't always get a retest, um, I mean, this is bouncing close enough to these lows that I figure I like taking the second entry long. That's a nice reversal type bar, and then you should have drawn that trend line there just in case. You might have still, you might have even drawn it here too, just in case. Turns out it's off these two swings, just like a little spike and channel up or whatever. It's not very strong, but you still can't ignore that trend line, especially when it touches again here. And the other one just didn't fit very well. So I stayed with this one, and you can see prices working off that midline, and I believe that to be it. See how they're working off of it on both sides up here as well. So this turns out to be a nice long. Again, if you went short there, it's not a great short, but if you took it, okay. Um, and then this long, I went back and forth about whether this one's close to where you could argue for it to be green too, but I really like it to the upside, just simply because you're almost going sideways here, and it's treat it like a failed break lower. It's a pullback first entry, pullback second entry, when you would expect that if we're going higher, that's about where it would reverse, and you figure you might try to get a retest of the high on this channel, even if there's nothing else there. So, and it's close enough to these lows to where you could call that a bounce off the lows too. So, but notice you got a new low there. You get a first entry short, second entry short, and it bounces right off what looks like could be a trend line there. Um, it looks like a doji, but it really is only, it could have closed up one tick and been a bullish bar. But the reason I made this one green is simply because it's right into that resistance here, and you don't know that this is not going to be a range day, especially getting into the noon hour and knowing this is an FOMC day. So you have to be careful with that one. Notice what happens though. It pushes through, and if you'd taken it, it would have worked, but I still don't think you want to risk that. And you get a first entry short, second entry short, it fails, it bounces right off that trend line again. This one is very, very close to being blue. You could argue for this to be blue. It is right back into those highs, but notice you push through there, and it's a second entry, so, and it's a double test of this level here, but this had been kind of going sideways, so it could turn up right there and just keep going. So I don't think you want to, it's close to being blue, but I think you got to call that one aggressive, because you just don't know that it's going to do what it did here. I think you're better off to wait, and notice what happens. It pushes on through again, it pulls back, it tests this breakout area once, tests it again. It actually went short first and then broke out the upper side. I like just having a buy stop right there, or letting it break higher and dropping a limit order and see if maybe you get a little better entry. And it pushes up, it comes back, and it tests that again before going higher. And notice that low right there, and then you get a double test. You actually get a multiple test of that because you tested at 2 bars here, and then you get that little break lower. And so I like going long right there. It's a little bit, it's not a perfect signal bar, so for that reason, I did make it green as well. And actually, I need to go back and talk about this trade again. This was just after the 1 o'clock hour, so it's right in that news item. But you could tell instantly when the news came out, it wasn't, there wasn't really any effect. So I'm okay with taking that trade just after the news item, because there was nothing going on. So anyway, and then of course you get the, we already talked about that one. So, but I did want to come back and explain that because I forgot to talk about it. And that's what this kind of purple burgundy circle is here. It's where you need to be careful because it's the hour from about 12 o'clock. Actually, I don't think I got it quite the right place. Let me just double check it. Yeah, noon to 1, so it should have been from right there. And you can see how slow it got. And then this was 2 or 3 minutes after the noon. So really, it's only that little area right in there that you had to be. And you can see there's nothing happened right there. It just was no volume, no nothing. And really what that is people just waiting on that news to come out and see what it does. And in the end, they took it favorably, obviously, because we continue to go higher and closed. Is that a new high? I'm not sure if that's a new high or not. I think that's just another test of. No, that's probably a new high because I believe this was a high. I'm not sure, but it's real close if it's not a new high. I can't remember what the last new high was on this contract, to be honest, but it's real close. So, you know, just not much happening today. There hadn't been a whole lot happening all week, to be honest with you. Now that the FOMC news is out of the way, maybe the trend will pick up and continue going higher, or maybe we'll get a sell-off or something. We just need to get some movement. So, I mean, there was actually some nice movement today, but there just weren't a lot of quality setups. I mean, if you argue for these green ones, there's 1, 2, 3 without them, and then there's 6 with them. So even even if you counted them all, it's still not a lot of quality entries. So anyway, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to get out of here early today. I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.